Bailey. Here. Thomas. Here. Castle. Rondell. Here. Walker. Yeah.
Here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we open the floor for any comments from the public on our agenda items. Do you have any comments this evening? Having no comments, we will turn the floor to the superintendent for presentations.
Thank you. Our first presentation is going to be on field class for the 2017-2018 school year. So I would like to thank to this honor of being on the call to see effectively.
It's my pleasure to bring April Johnson to the board to recognize her as a diamond in the School District. And just in the nick of time, too. For 25 years, April's been moving on for a very much deserved resident relocation and fun and all kinds of stuff. The reasons I wanted to bring April to the board and to the diamond board, I'm going to read what I wrote just as crying. I could not live here without expressing appreciation for the knowledge about the incredible work done by Ms. April Johnson. Diamonds in nature are priced according to carat size, color, grade, clarity, grade, and cup grade. In all these categories, April's grades are A+. A+. Okay. Diamonds in Diamond School District are dedicated, driven to achieve excellence for the community and dynamic. Again, April scores an A+ in all categories. Borrowing a line from a web page about diamonds, each diamond is unique and is a miracle of time, place, and change. In her 25 years in West Oak in the district, April has solidified her place as an exceptional administrative system. Her ability to truly multitask, April people say it can't be done, without missing a beat is extraordinary. Fielding phone calls, questions from students, questions from staff, questions from the bus company, questions from the administration, all at the same time is standard operating procedure in the office. There are even times when Calico will not be enough to take you away from all that. But April does it all with a smile and unbelievable efficiency. The most valuable diamonds in the world are colorless. Their color allows their color positioning to reflect and refract off their surroundings without overtaking what's in their space and makes everything look spectacular. April's attention to detail and multitask certainly allows the administrative staff of West Oak to sparkle by ensuring that these buildings clear, direct, and concise against reason. She makes us look good by doing her job so well. And never for any credit, never for a thank you, just because she loves her job, she loves the kids, she loves the community. And that makes her a diamond in and of itself. There's so many things that April does that deserve our gratitude and acknowledgement. I was doing this so well, I'll take under board meeting. But since we're almost out of time, I wanted to just make sure we got it done tonight. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, disregard that second picture. I'm making it to the camera.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Thank you.
Mia Rigalaja is her second time being recognized and going to ISA State well as she was the president of the National Student Honor Society and the founder of my student speaker at graduation. So,
thank you, Dr. Sherman Lewis. Good evening, members of the board and guests. Mia, 2 years in a row, this year she added something to it. This year, let's see, 200-meter dash and 100-meter hurdles. Last year it was hurdles only, if I recall. So Mia is a dedicated athlete. She's also a dedicated student. Most importantly, she's just a really nice young lady. Good heart, very kind, involved in school activities, and really is going to go far. She's a tremendous young lady. We're glad Mia experienced West Oak, and West Oak got to experience Mia. You know, she's going to do great at Stevenson, and Mia, on behalf of your coaches, I'd like to congratulate you as you come up with Dr. Sherman Lewis and myself. And we want to say, good job.
He's not right there. I'm gonna do 2 shots of faded background. So it should be okay. Because this one makes me look like a really good part. Thank you.
Congratulations.
So we need to know that we're to prepare for your speech and we need to come back here. Thank you for that. Thank you also for all of you. Bye.
Thank you.
is a summary for student services programs that are provided to today. We have some teachers as well as some information on district programs.
Thank you. The information in this evening's presentation will be broken into 2 different parts. The first part will be a special education overview and update, and the second half will focus on social emotional learning. I have 3 amazing teachers with me this evening to help with this presentation, so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves.
My name is Laura Rogers, and I work at Diamond Lake School, and I am the special ed lead teacher. I'm Patty Rudd. I work at West Oak Middle School, and I'm also the lead teacher.
And I'm going to teach area and care.
Okay, so let's get started with the special education update.
Yes.
You got get it a little bit closer to. Yeah, have it closer.
Okay, are we ready? All right, we're going to get started with the special education update. Well, this slide is simply to provide you with a snapshot of finances related to special education. Although we spend $1.9 million on special education programs and supporting our students with special needs, we do get some revenue back for those costs. This chart is representing the number of students. I'm sorry.
Question about the finances.
Sure.
As we look at these revenues, are any of these revenue sources ones that are at risk for us?
No,
Yeah, no, sorry, don't mind me.
no,
Basically, 2 of the 4 revenue sources we have listed there rolled up into the new ESSA grant. So they haven't gone away, they've just shifted. And IDEA is not something that we anticipate going away anytime soon. So we feel pretty stable.
This next slide is students who are placed within District 76 that we serve in each of our buildings. Learning disability is the category is considered high incidence. It is a very common disability.
And our students are typically found receiving services in the general education classroom. Developmental delay is a disability for students who are preschool through the age of 9 years old. We often use that as an eligibility criteria because it indicates that the child has some level of learning needs, but we haven't decided to make a final decision about their eligibility in terms of what their disability might be. So a child who might be presenting with multiple needs, they're too young to determine that they're autistic or cognitively impaired, so we use developmental delay until they're, right around 3rd grade. If you go down the list, the lighter blue areas indicate low incidence or students who don't commonly have those as disability areas. But we do want to highlight that we serve a variety of students with special needs, including some of the low incidence areas within our district.
Is there any overlap there?
That's 165 individual students. So if I'm understanding your question, do we have any students who are developmentally delayed and in the same category, learning disability? No, those are 2 separate disabilities. So those are all of the areas a child might be found eligible for special education services. And in order to receive that level of support, they have to be identified as having a specific disability. Okay?
And when we hear the legal term for is it related to any of the specific ones here, or could it be related to all of them?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Do all of these students have such a thing?
Yes, yes. Every child.
This is the population.
This is, okay. This is the population. So in order to receive special education services, a team does some level of an assessment to determine if the child has a disability, which would be in one of these categories. If the child is found to have a disability, then we develop what's called an IEP, or an individualized educational plan. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what our ranges of services are within the district as well as outside the district. But yeah, that's a very good question. All of these students do have an IEP, yes. Okay. Any other questions about this particular slide? Okay. Although we do our best to meet the needs of our students within our district, that's always where we want to start. We do have 17 students who are placed outside of the district. Being placed outside of the district means they could be in one of our CDAL programs or CDAL classrooms, or we do have a handful of students who are receiving support at some private therapeutic day schools, such as Connections Academy or Felicity, and there are a handful. We are very excited that we do have 2 students who are returning to District 76 in August. Both of them are kindergarten students. One of them has the disability eligibility of autism, and the other one has emotional needs. But we are really working hard to expand the students population that we serve, and so we're excited to be bringing them back, and their families are very happy about that as well. Like I said, we are going to be talking about the continuum of services, and we're providing more specific support throughout the district than we had in the past. So we're also very proud of the fact that we've identified at least 7 students, probably with autism or cognitive impairments, that would have most likely been served outside of District 76 in the past, that we are meeting their needs within our district. So that's very exciting to us.
Another question about finances. When we talk about the amount of money we pay to CDAL as part of that consortium, is that money just going to these 12 students, or does it go beyond that?
It goes beyond that. 12. CDAL provides us with a variety of services and supports. They do provide us with hearing assessments for our students that we can't do testing for within the district. They provide us with professional development. We partner with them to do like hearing itinerant services. We have just a very small number of students who receive that, so they do provide us with those types of supports. They're generally a connection for us in a variety of ways, things that we wouldn't be able to do ourselves. They have an assistive technology specialist who we just did an assistive technology evaluation on a child at Diamond Lake who has very unique learning needs. And we were able to use CEDAL as a resource because we paid into them, so. Okay. And I'm gonna let Mrs. Rogers talk about the least restrictive environment.
So one of the things that when we are working, if we have a new student that has been identified as special education, we always want the least restrictive environments. And so if you look at the left, all the way to the left, we always look at that first, and we always want to keep the students in the general education classroom and give them support, supplementary support. If the child still needs more support because of their disability, we will pull them out of their general ed classroom and give them the reading or the math services that they need. And that's the 91 students that are pulled out for 40% or less of the time. And then the next one, we have students that are pulled out a little bit more because that gap is a little bit bigger than those other two. So if that gap's a little bit bigger, then we might need to give them more services in that reading or math, even in science, social studies, those types of things. And then the last one, we do have 5 students in self-contained. Now those students are typically in the self-contained classroom for most of the day, and they will might go to recess or lunch or specials, art, music, library. So those students are self-contained. And then the next in the gray, so all the red is all our Diamond Lake students that are in our schools. The first gray one, that's those students are in the CEDAL program, and that program is actually in like West Oak. We have a CEDAL program that is in the school. So they are being serviced through CEDAL, but they are at our schools. And then the next one is our separate education. That's where connections, if they have to go to Ages Lake, those are students that really have need more intensive care. And then the residential and the home hospital, we don't have any students that we service right now. Yes, sir.
Having CEDAL on site, is that what the schools do?
Is that what
that common?
That's part of the agreement that we have with CEDAL is each district is willing to host a program if they are able to. It does benefit us when we do because we get a reimbursement or a deduction from some of our overall costs. We currently host 2 programs. We currently host the TAB program at West Oak Middle School, and we host an early childhood program at Fairhaven. But to answer your question, in order to be a part of it, we do have to agree that we are willing to host if we are able to. And so that's where sometimes you see the programs move from location to location, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Certainly less disruptive.
Yes, keep them in our school where they potentially, hopefully, go back to the least restrictive environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that transition's a little bit easier, absolutely.
It would be from other districts. It might be ours as well. We do have 2 students who are at West Oak who were placed in the TAB program while it was here at West Oak, but that program is designed, again, it's more restrictive, so they have more structure in place, a lower staff to student ratio. They are mainstreamed within the program at certain times, but it's in a much more controlled environment. Again, 2 students out of the number of students here, that's all we needed, which is why we don't have that specific classroom here. But the program at Fairhaven, we actually didn't have a need for the program. We have enough students to sustain our own classroom, and CEDAL has a classroom in our school, so they're using it independent. but their students are mainstreamed with our students, or they do access the building and as they were our students, but we support, they do, yes, correct. They're from different districts.
And I will say, working at Diamond Lake and being a lead teacher at Diamond Lake, I work very closely with Fairhaven, work very closely with West Oak, and our goal is to always give the least restrictive environment. I really feel like our special ed teachers do a really nice job giving our students the least restrictive environment. That's always our goal, is to continue moving to the left and then finally exiting them from special ed. And then the additional support, so we have a lot of different supports to support our special education students, and one of them is CERTS. That is a framework for students that we use to make goals and goals for those students that are typically have communication, sensory, emotional needs. Typically, those students are have an emotional disability label or autistic label. The next, so as assistive technology, we use a lot of stuff. If I was saying, we use a lot of assistive technology for students that require them. We did just get an iPad for a student to help them with communication, which is very beneficial. We have a lot of specialized seating, fidgets, we have the Hopi stools, we have the shoe necklaces, lots of different things for those students that need that sensory input. We also have a lot of different resources, and one of the resources that we use at Diamond Lake that I know is SIPS, and SIPS is a great program because it's also it's intervention for our reading program that is used in the general education classroom. We also have a therapy dog that we have been bringing in. We got to have Mr. Small even bring him into Diamond Lake, so it's, that's definitely something that's going to be coming more and more. Of course, we have all the different types of services to offer to students, occupational therapy, speech, all of those. We also have the transdisciplinary play-based assessments, which is more at Fairhaven. And that is, instead of doing like standardized testing, there will be a social worker, a speech therapist, a psychologist, an occupational therapist, a classroom teacher, and what they will do is they will do assessment with play, so that the child's not taking that standardized test that they typically take when they're in third, fourth, and older. And then of course, we are always wanting to get professional development to the general education teachers to help them understand how to accommodate the special education students. Do you have any questions? Sorry.
Talk about strengths.
The first item is the teacher leads, which is what Mrs. Robbins and I are. And this was my first year as a lead teacher, and I thought that probably one of the biggest benefits is what they did to join the special ed departments in all three buildings to collaborate and help make the transition for students smoother. The fifth graders coming to West Oak, the second graders going to third grade. It helped us collaborate more and speak about what the students' needs were as they entered each of the buildings. And then within the buildings, I feel that it offered the gen ed teachers and special ed teachers one go-to person to start with. And if I wasn't able to answer the question, we see where to start and how we could get any questions answered. I could talk to Dr. Fredericks and pull us together. So I thought that was a very benefiting lead teachers. As Mrs. Rogers talked about, the least restricted environment that goes into the co-teaching, which is something where a special education teacher is actually in the classroom with the general education teacher, which helps with the least restricted environment because it allows the special education students to be in a general education class exposure to the core curriculum, to their grade level curriculum, but still have their needs met by a special education teacher in the classroom. Another area we've really grown in is the sensory materials. At Diamond Lake, there's a sensory room, and in the room there's a swing, there are mats, there are 50 toys, there are the scooters, so things if students need a sensory break, there's a room for them to go to, and we're working here at Restrictive to bring that into the classrooms more. This year, we're looking at areas in the classroom for students who need those types of breaks. And finally, part of the co-teaching is aligning those materials and ensuring that special education students are still receiving core curriculum exposure.
How much professional development training are how to do that? I've seen that in some places. Is it really coding or is it too long? And then the problem with that is what kind of support does the board can we give to make sure that the coaching is working the right way? Or are we giving people coaching time?
I love that question in terms of what support we can get. That's fantastic. The last 2 summers, we have offered professional development and co-teaching through our summer university, so teachers have taken advantage of that. At Fairhaven, we do co-teaching every morning in every classroom, so our teams work very closely together and have co-planning time. We often use our after-school time as well, just carved out for our co-teachers to plan and work together. And I believe they do a level of that as Diamond Lake as well as West Oak. I do feel, and I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of 2 adults in the room versus completely co-teaching. I think we're doing a fantastic job. Our teachers love it. They really like it. They really want to do it. And then they've often identified each other as this is the way to go. And they find that value. What's really exciting about observing the classrooms is it's seamless to see which is the special education teacher and which is the general education teacher. They're both working with all students. And you see them taking turns working with groups. You always have the special education lens of making those modifications and adaptations, and they can often pull groups out if they need to pre-teach or reteach. But there's often students who have not been identified as having disabilities as a part of that group as well. So I think we can always continue to grow and plan, but we do certainly try to respond to our teachers. They work very closely with their buildings and their teachers, and if they said we needed more of blank, we would certainly find a way to get that for them. We are very positive about it. Yes. Yes. Any other questions about that?
One is, at a City Hall meeting, I saw a presentation about the technology assistance for, in this case, they were highlighting kids who had communication challenges. However, it was very inspiring in terms of how much technology meant to students. But I just wonder, as I look at the strengths and accomplishments page, have we made progress in figuring out which kids can benefit most from technology and secure whatever
Absolutely. We have quite a few kids. Well, when I say quite a few, I'm thinking of the number of students that we're keeping in the district. So relatively speaking, it's really just a handful, but that have assistive technology devices. So their iPads are specialty for them, specialized for them in order to meet especially their communication needs. And these are students that we would have placed in the past. For example, we have a little boy at Fairhaven who is completely nonverbal, and he's going into 1st grade, and his iPad has specific board maker and other apps that we're working with him on, pressing the button just to say hello or to ask a question. We really do try to tailor our needs without hesitation to the individual, or the supports rather, to the individual needs of the students. The girl that we were talking about at Diamond Lake is selective mutism, and we're working with her and that family very closely to make sure she truly has a voice and it's not disrupting her educational progress. So anytime we have any questions like that, we work very closely with Eric, and he's on it right away, and we get the devices in place. But we don't hesitate to make sure the kids have what they need to be successful.
Have you made progress in that? In terms of being able to assess how to use that and optimize it, and identify opportunities and celebrate it.
Yeah, well, it is a celebration. It is, because we are seeing it take off, and there's more and more apps. And I should stress that assistive technology isn't just the technology in the sense of electronics. Assistive technology is giving a child anything they need and be successful. So it could even be considered a highlighter or something as simple as that. But when we're thinking about it, you know, in terms of technology, true technology, it's just going so quickly, and we do try to stay up top of what's coming out next, and making sure our students do have what they need to be successful. And we really don't hesitate. If there's something out there, you know, that the kids need, we really do make sure we put it in place right away.
And my second question is, can you explain to us what progress you've made on being able to address the needs of twice exceptional kids, to test as gifted or advanced students, and yet also fit into these buckets? What have we done to be able to get that right?
We do have just a couple of students who would fall into that category. Again, we're very child-centered. We really do sit down and talk about the needs of that learner, and we are able to provide special education services and advanced simultaneously, and the teachers work it as a team. What's really nice is we're not a huge, you know, we don't have hundreds of staff members. We have a nice small population who really care about our kids. So we sit down and we problem solve. CERTs can be a big part of that, because again, CERTs is social communication and emotional regulation, and the kids who are twice exceptional tend to have some of those sensory needs, or some of those social emotional pieces, because they look at the world differently, and that allows us to problem solve. Yes, we focus on it. We do respond. I know Erin Mitzarfer, she's out of town and was not able to be here tonight. I know the teachers have worked together to put presentations in place. We did recently have a general education teacher ask the question about why are we keeping some of these kids here? They would have been outplaced. So over the summer, the lead teachers are putting on a presentation about what are the true benefits of inclusion, what is the purpose. We have a child who's nonverbal going into first grade. You know, why is he there? Well, he's there because he's learning along with his peers, and yes, he's learning to use his communication device, but more importantly, he's learning to work with other people and around other people, and he gets the benefit from his role models, and the students get the benefit from learning about him and learning that there's diverse needs. So anytime we hear something that needs to be addressed, then we try to problem solve through it and decide what professional development is needed, and is it as simple as a presentation from the lead teachers, or do we need to bring in someone else or do a book talk? You know, we really try to respond appropriately. Are we ready for social emotional learning? Okay, because that's the next part of our presentation today, social emotional learning. And now this is a little bit different. I do want to take a step back and remind everybody that we just talked about special education, and although I'm going to be introducing social emotional learning, it's not special education. This is for everybody. Social emotional learning is a Common Core area. The state of Illinois does have standards, and we have expectations to teach those standards. But more importantly, it really is what's best for kids. It's taking a step back and looking at what social emotional learning needs and supports need to be in place in order for our children to feel good and successful in school. So we have I'm really proud of the work that our committee did this year, and I know Mrs. Broggie is going to tell us a little bit more about it, but I feel like this was a true focus in the last, definitely 2 years, but this past year we really hit it, and then we have plans for the next steps as well. So why don't you get us started with what we're doing in terms of our learning curriculum?
I've been in the district for 20 years, and we've always had, academics. We get rid of writing, and reading, math, and anything to teach social and emotional learning to students. So it's really neat to see that in the last 2 years we've brought in a program called Second Step, and it really teaches that social and emotional side of the child. Behavior, positive behavior, how you react to the child that may have something to you compliant. It's just looking at the child, and what we did on the committee was we took ISB has standards, just like we have PRIS standards for like reading, standards for social emotional. We took those standards and we aligned it with the second step and made assessments. Really nice about the second step is that it starts at pre-K and goes all the way to 8th grade. So we're using simple vocabulary and activities. You look up how do you calm yourself down. We're teaching that in pre-K. The 8th graders are using it with their students too. So it's really nice, consistent, it's follow through, and it's language we're hearing in pre-K until graduate 8th grade. So nice to see that consistency. That's a little quiet right now. We do an intervention program to positive behavior. It goes along, right along with our second step. And what it does is gives us positive interventions. We have purple sheets that carry it in way. You see the child doing something, we're going to ask them how to have the child safe, or just walking down the hallway the right way. You need to feel about it. Positive referrals are announced on the morning about one card, and there's that video that I feel that just the constant positive because it's an intervention in itself where you can touch the positive instead of why do you want to walk in the hallway? So-and-so walking in the hallway, so then they all get their hand up and walking. And what's so nice about it is we can junior high kids are not right, they do. Preschool, they're going to continue on, and it's something to get that positive reinforcement right away to these students. That's another good intervention that we brought into the district also. And one of the interventions with the PAS that we do, which works really well in my classroom, is there's a list of them on the PowerPoint, but what I really want to focus on is the check in and check out. If you have a child that maybe is struggling, that's really struggling, you're teaching them or having behaviors that obviously are positive behaviors you want to see, you would put that in and check in and check out and have it go. Maybe they don't see very often. It's not going to be a question of teacher, like a librarian or a reading teacher that needs them in the morning, and they have a little sheet and they make a goal, they simply put them on for the day. And the teachers, it's really easy, first you might be overwhelmed by talking with Sarah. Just talk right over, just sat there, maybe just at the end of the day, that teacher comes back to that child, looks over that check out sheet, and positive. Oh, you could be going today. Great, look at how nicely you did with your positive behavior that you were listening to teachers today. Just a positive. I have the best day, for that child. Just turn it around that person that has a positive reaction. And also that goes from the parents. So every day, the parents seeing how they did. And it's gathered in school, keep track of every day. And after 6 weeks, they can graduate from the program. They make a big celebration. Cakes for the child, and they can be proactive, positive, and keep that. I think they're very pleased with the social emotional learning community and doing those assessments now, we're doing this, we see the positive behavior, and see the growth of children, having those types of assessment, and say, okay, this is working, and this is working. So we're following along with standards.
Seaman?
So the West we added a new report this year. We added a new standards directed to support to add to assist with discipline and to assist with the social and emotional aspects of the pre-teen, which I believe we brought in restorative practice. A lot of districts have restorative practice when SB 100 came out, 7.100, which changed the way you do discipline kids as far as suspensions go. So districts need to find better ways to get students to understand what their behaviors do, how they impact others, and to get them to kind of have a follow. I shouldn't do that. So we started with practice this year, which turned into was very beneficial for the kid. So myself, we had many students come into the room. Room 29 was designated for that year. So I would have kids come in because there was another class in the process, and we talked about what happened. You know, the four basic questions: what were you doing? What were you supposed to be doing? What can you do to change what happened? How do you fix it? And then I was on the back end. More often than not, I would get these last from teachers say, well, we're apologizing when we do that. Well, good, that's what they're supposed to do. So the restorative practice gives the student a chance to hear how their behavior impacts other people, and it gives the victim, which we had really incorporated into discipline before, it gives the person who was victimized a chance to tell that person what happened, how they felt, which empowers them, which is really cool to see when somewhere kids can sit down face to face and say, when you say that to me, it hurts and it bothers me, and I need to stop. And the kids who are being told to stop, you can see it in their eyes, they get it. It's better than me saying you can knock it out, it's not appropriate. When they hear from the class, they hear, it hits them in a whole different way, which is the impact of growing. We had next year we're going to restorative justice, which is going to be discipline for certain things in the hands of peer juries. So we're going to have kids deciding consequences for other kids. And it could be, you know, okay, so you got sent out of class for the third time, you owe the teacher 20 minutes, you're going to need to attend 3 tutoring sessions after school and write an apology note. And as long as you do those things, you won't get a consequence around whoever gets the consequence. So the kids are going to have to buy into certain contracts with their peers. It's really effective, again, it takes it out of, puts it into their vernacular, and it helps them see that what they're doing impacts their class as a whole, and it's not just about them, which is again very powerful for our kids. I did have some instances where students, most of the time students and students sit down. I had, I think, 5 situations where students sat down with their teachers because they wanted to discuss things that happened in the classroom, and they either wanted to apologize to the teacher or they wanted to ask the teacher, you know, to explain something that happened. Those worked out very powerfully to the staff who were involved. I was appreciative that they actually came and said, I don't think and when they left for the mom. You know, I never saw that student have like that ability to express themselves that way. So it was very beneficial. But everything in a different view, different lens. This is some data that I collected. So when kids would come in, I would write down detailed notes about what we talked about, just to kind of track where we were. The number of total students, you can see it varied. In May, it kind of went back up a little bit, but there was a lot of areas where it was just not being ready. I'm getting a little scared because high school is coming. So, but overall, the numbers went in the right direction. February was high. That was a whole other, that was more of a group of kids that had a couple incidents. Students see more than once a month. Those are low. Those kids, some of those kids were seen 3, 4, maybe 5 times. Because for some reason, the kids would come in, it's not that they weren't getting that, but sometimes they would come in because they needed a quiet place and they needed to process. They had things going on in homes that wanted to come in and just, hey, can I talk to you, or was social worker available? Just looking for ways to clear their heads so when they're in the classroom, they can really focus on what they need to focus Teacher referrals are the fourth column there. Student initiated requests are kids who came and said, I'm having an issue with so-and-so, or several so-and-sos, can I do a circle? Circle is just the form that we sit. Everybody sits in a circle because there's no hiding. You're there, and everybody participates and communicates in a talking piece. And the kids all very quickly learned what circle was. And we tried to get the circles done before issues became a problem. Sometimes it was after, but we always ended on a positive note with an agreement of what we're going to do and how we're going to fix it. So those were the student requests. And then face-to-face meetings with parents. Most folks showed too, that became a harder position as things came up in circle. We would uncover some stuff that we needed to go to parents to, or some other issues, and students would refer themselves to them, and we came up with some things that we needed to just make sure parents were aware. So those were the parent meetings and the face-to-face times. And then, in order to make sure, we talked about, this was a brand new program this year for the teachers and for the students. And we wanted to make sure that the teachers fully understood what Route 29 was. Because we started one direction, and it grew in a lot of different ways, and it's sort of started this picturesque. We just want to make sure we're all on the same page. These are some of the responses we did a survey. So these are some of the responses that the teachers gave as far as what they thought Route 29 was for. And each response pretty much really going. So it was good to see that teachers understood it. We did ask for ideas on how to make it, to improve it going forward. We had some good feedback coming back to that we're working on. That made some of it.
Okay, as I stated earlier, one of the things that we really have worked on is both our special education department and social emotional learning. And we really want to make sure our families are aware of the great work that we're doing. This past year, we put together that special education brochure, and we're making sure all new families in special education get that. And we are making sure we have agendas in our rooms, and we're really trying to communicate the whole special education process. In terms of social emotional learning, we have plans to just directly do shout outs throughout the school year next year. So in our back to school folder, we're going to have summary of programs. We are highlighting things on our webpage. We're sending home family letters. The check-in and check-out, that's a daily feedback for families. I know the buildings are doing some level of progress monitoring or communication at Fairhaven. It's the red folders, but I know we do it differently in different buildings. And then we are meeting with parents on a regular basis to make sure they know exactly what we're doing with these areas. So that is the end of our presentation, and you have been great asking questions along the way, but we certainly would like to give you the opportunity to ask any additional questions you have before we move on to the rest of the meeting.
Certainly seems like a great certainly extremely important. Just wondering, now that it's a great program, what do you see? What would you like to see different or better?
I think that we just are kind of in our meeting right now. It's still new. This is our first year now that we have the assessments. We really haven't used them yet. So this year we were creating them. So next year will be interesting to teach the lessons, have the assessments, and see how well. And we only had it 2 years. The more we do it, for the longer we have to see what the kids are in junior high. There are changes. Easier, you don't have to ever remind them about treat others and have them 21, it'd be really interesting to see, the impact it makes.
We've talked as a team about how amazing it would be if all adults had social skills curriculum and training. When you see the preschools, one of the lessons are belly breathing. This is just an example, and we practice this. And then they do a similar lesson in kindergarten. It gets more age appropriate, but it's when you're frustrated, what do? You stop, You name that emotion, you put your hands on your belly and you take a deep breath. And it's so fun to see kids on the playground going, oh, you know, and they use it. I mean, you've talked about kids who will use this stuff. And so if we can teach children how to react appropriately emotionally from preschool, it's, you know, obviously it's a hope. We don't know yet, as Mrs. Brokey said, we're just starting, but that is the goal, that it truly impacts behavior and ultimately learning in the classroom, because everyone knows what to do if they're frustrated and upset. And if you look back at that list, we're getting there. Here, the instructions for units of focus, those 6 areas spiral each and every year. So our preschoolers have those exact skills and lessons as the middle school. And so we're just expanding on each and every year. So the first year, you know, you're looking at just what does it mean to care that your friend is hurt. And then by 8th grade, you should be able to problem solve a little bit more through that. But that's the hope. And then PBIS just couples with it. So it's providing, it's that social emotional from a different lens. So they work very nicely together. So, any other questions? Okay, and thank you.
I'd like to comment and say that I've been trained as a board member to understand that the most effective boards are the ones who understand what is important. And that can guys are prepared for the presentation and brought us us is helping us. So thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that. And I'm sure you guys want to stay for the rest of the board meeting. Thank you very much. Bye.
So now we're moving on to our business agenda. None of these are for action this evening, these are items for discussion this evening, and for action items later in June. So first up is the omnibus road agenda, and this is just the first one. David respond to.
Yeah, I mean, some annual things here, like prevailing wage rate, something that annually required or not. Same thing with milk prices, something that we went out to bid this year, got one bid back. It's a company that we've used in the past, they're fantastic, so we're really excited to work with them again. And prices have gone down a little bit year over year, or prior year. And as far as lawn care goes, we're really thankful and working with Braulio. The lawn care service is the 3rd year we've worked with them, and it's the 3rd year in a row that they signed an extension. We're allowed to sign an extension with them because they've agreed to not increase the cost year over year. So typically the cost flat the last 3 years. So we're thankful to work with them and keep costs so low. Yeah, thank you. I do every time I see it. They're really good. They check it regularly.
All right, so any comments or questions on any of those topics that are just items? All right, next up is the first reading of PRIS.
policies, or procedural updates, whether changes are majority of the calendar, that included cases, trouble with it, just the way it's seen. So the first attachment is the one. So it was.
Students in elementary schools will use service. Okay, next up, and then 56 master service agreement.
No questions. Those are the option services. So, done anything around cyber threat analysis in the past? And
Talking to Mike here. So for as long as I have been here, it's been relying on our updated firewall that we have here, and there hasn't been data that proves to move forward with a robust cybersecurity threat. However, it's always our benefit to be as proactive as possible. That's why we have a few options on from the 56 services, as well as being able to do something a little bit in-house to review data at 1 year and determine if we need to move to more of a robust system when it comes to cybersecurity. In regards to backup and disaster recovery, majority of our resources, our data is actually hosted, not on our servers. This is more of backup disaster recovery on what our servers currently do, which is running DNS and DHCP and print servers and so on and so forth here. So it's more of just having an on-premise backup as an option or a redundancy for them.
Any other questions? Next up are our personnel items, 4 new hires and resignation. Comments, questions?
Today, actually, we'll start officially until July 16th, but they're just very dedicated, very professional, and skills and qualities that can complement current staff that we have. So we're pleased with both additions to both blocks. All of the folks who are different level of service and quality.
All right, next up is board discussion.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's, construction's been moving along really quickly, and I think it's good that you guys get a chance. We kind of take a look just to see some of the work that's been done, but the bathrooms have already been demolished here at least. We gotta put some pictures of that are as Friday. Oh, yeah, pictures.
Give me a few
lot better
seconds.
story than I can, but the flooring's been torn up for most of the school here. The bathrooms are right on target. We have a couple areas that we're still addressing as far as some additional asbestos that they've been working. We're going to have to do just based on some of the some new findings in the bathroom. So it's something that'll just slow down 1 or 2 places of our construction here at Westville, but it's nothing that's going to impact long term. Otherwise, everything's been on track. Emily's got a lot more work going on than we do here.
Yeah, I believe we have 3 parts where we have the bathrooms are being modeled as well. We're not doing the quarter floors next year, but along with the bathroom model, we have the roofing being done and the boilers are being replaced. So there's 3 different entities moving around that building all day. It's really kind of cool to see. It's just, this chorus orchestra of people just floating around. I don't know how they don't run each totally synchronized. And they're just, and I'm in my office, and within 10 minutes, I'm seeing just carts of stuff go by. There's demo work going out, or materials coming in. There's cranes putting stuff up on the roof. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I think we can both say how appreciative we are of Pepper. They've done a fantastic job. They are just the top-notch firm. They've kept everything flowing in their schedule. It's been really amazing. They'll work around a lot of things we've thrown in their way as well, inspections and things like that. They just roll with the punches on everything.
Okay. Commented to this yesterday, but we were in so long. How are we did so well to us? We were able to be staff. And so everybody was prepared. Usually, I was meeting Tuesday at 3:30, but by Tuesday at 3:30, the entire district was pretty much empty. And it's not great signs out and saying it started right away on Wednesday, so we really did not see that it was going and this was really staffing really well.
And maybe Mr. Hanson can just share the folder with everybody, kind of take a look at it. Wizard of Oz behind the.
Dude, I had to change accounts. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
That's funny.
I'm not a professional person. Just
I'm gonna walk around.
walking a couple sites, just trying to stay out of their way. And I think that's the neatest thing about this is that, if you've done any remodeling in your house on that scale, you know how much more goes into it. This is so much larger.
Tell me when I can.
Just
keep
going.
Yeah.
They're kind of self-explanatory.
So they protected the floors and the hallways, and it's really just top notch. Skip that one. Skip that one. So that is what's left of the main boiler that I like. So the only issue there, those plates weigh about 200 to 300 pounds apiece. So trying to figure out how to get those out of the basement.
Does the boiler
Well, I do have the boilerplate on my desk, and I'm trying to figure out what we could do with that. So,
I think I agree with it.
I think we're gonna put a plaque, a nice shellac on there, and I think we skipped by a few, but because there was a couple of that boiler in stages. But oh yeah, go ahead and scroll way up to the top because I think you'll really appreciate. These are the bathrooms. Yeah. You never know what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter. Some work is being done. In a nutshell. People are doing things.
That's the access to the main gym, so you can't get in right now because they're making the tiles in there. The lunchroom is now the tool room, so that's their staging area where they get all their supplies from, their tools from. That is the beginning stages of taking apart the boiler downstairs. So that they started with those big flues that you see on the left there, and then they had to start just basically ripping apart. I don't think they had to torch anything, but ripping apart the box that you see in the middle.
Yeah, but if anyone's been to Diamond Lake and seen that corridor way, it's narrow. I can't believe how they got all this stuff out.
It's just in pieces, and they're just flying. I mean, there's 3 or 4 laborers that just keep taking loads and loads out of the dumpster in their bag and just don't stop.
Is there anything
There might be a private sale for you.
So you can see in this picture here, there's just, so those black carts in the middle, those are constantly just getting filled up with demo materials. That they've lined the hallways with this chipboard just to protect everything. It is, and it looks like this all day long. You got a little sound bite what it sounds like. You would never know if you didn't hear it because it looks like this all day long. It's almost, there's not a speck of dust in the hallways. Everything is tarp, like you can't see it here, but this first bathroom door, the tarp's been removed because they were coming out of there, but everything is tarped up. So they're working inside. Dust isn't coming out. It's really, really great. Just dumpster stage. I've done
We're back.
old boiler stuff. So. Yeah, so that's all right. We'll keep adding to that folder as we go. Probably take some pictures every week. Just to, I think it's important to record progress that's going on.
Now that we got progress, we just do it and we put it up on the website and we want to start promoting some of the work that's being done. We'll clean those up and publish those.
Anything else for discussion? So we have one order request. Anything on these notices?
I'm trying to show you that everyone seems to be involved. Updates are all of our residents. So they're just to add some on a daily basis. Also, I think the city is put together a folder for community closet, just letting parents know what is available, what days it's open. So that's just a sort of District 75, District 79 ourselves. Wednesday the 20th, 6 p.m. Session. And then I believe it was also that the culture of our public presentation and reschedule to make sure
Anybody else have any? At this time, we open the floor for any public comments and petitions on any other topics. Having no comments, we move on to others. As always, the promotion celebration, the graduation ceremony was inspiring night. Well done and enjoyed. Any others? Okay. So, Dr. Tom Lewis, I'll let you know.
So the board will adjourn into executive session for the purpose of the employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or the council of the district, including hearing testimony on elections, employee credits, and consequences. So we made a motion to adjourn into executive session. Yes.
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 Thank you.